So welcome all of you to Drishti IAS online platform. I, Amit Sinha, once again heartily welcome all of you to this platform where we are discussing the topic of or the syllabus of RAS Mains and exactly how to approach the RAS Mains. This is a video going to be on the topic of this particular issue only, that how one shall approach the segment of RAS Mains examination and what all components to be taken care of when we prepare for the RAS Mains examination. See, there are two very important aspects in the preparation of RAS Mains. One, that we need to be abreast with the syllabus of RAS Mains, and second, that we also need to be abreast with the kind of questions which RAS has been asking in the last few years in the mains examination, in fact. So in the context of the same, I am going to discuss first of all the syllabus of history for RAS mains, in fact. So syllabus of history, let us understand in the RAS mains examination what exactly is the component of the history syllabus in the RAS mains examination. So you can see on your screen, I have got the syllabus in front of all of you, and in this syllabus I am going to discuss with you exactly how to approach this syllabus altogether as far as RAS mains examination is concerned. So सबसे पहली बात, of course I will be using both the languages Hindi and English to make you understand things, and I believe and hope all of you will be comfortable in this. So the very first thing that we have to discuss exactly that what is the syllabus of history for the RAS mains examination, and this video is precisely going to be the component of history for your RAS mains examination, in fact. फाइन, तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम ये वीडियो आपके सामने ला रहे हैं जिसमें सिर्फ हम RAS मेंस के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम हिस्ट्री सिलेबस को डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं और एग्जैक्टली कैसे हिस्ट्री को अप्रोच करना है इस बात पे हमारा फोकस रहेगा इस वीडियो में, इनफैक्ट. ठीक है, तो यही इस वीडियो का मेन पर्पस है आप सभी के लिए. तो इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट लेट अस नाउ डिस्कस सी syllabus of RAS mains as far as history is concerned. It is consisting of the three important parts, in fact. The part A, that is in front of you. Part A, that is in front of you, it actually talks about the history of Rajasthan primarily. And then when you talk about history of Rajasthan, the syllabus very specifically mentioned about certain terms and terminologies. If you see on the screen right now, it is very clearly and precisely mentioning about certain terms and terminologies, especially, let's say, the term like we have to prepare history of what Rajasthan, we have to also prepare art of what of Rajasthan, to also prepare culture of Rajasthan, literature of Rajasthan, tradition of Rajasthan, heritage of Rajasthan. And see how many words are mentioned in the syllabus very specifically. The words in front of you, which you can see on the screen, that's the reason why I'm outside the screen right now, to make you read this entire words very carefully, because these words matter a lot when you actually have to prepare the syllabus of the RAS mains for history, in fact. Okay? So now see, they have mentioned almost everything in your syllabus. That is history, art, culture, literature, tradition, and even the heritage of Rajasthan. Now, if you talk about the history, art, culture, literature, tradition, the point is, in art forms, various aspects are included. History is obviously, we have to talk about history right from ancient, medieval, modern, etc. But in art form, various aspects are included, whether it is architecture, whether it is painting, whether it is, let's say, the sculpture. So all of these things are the part of the art forms only. But again, here it is specifically emphasized upon the literature also. So even literature can also be an art form. So ideas of literature is separately mentioned just because that there is a huge growth of literature also in the Rajasthan history. That's the reason why literature is very specifically mentioned in front of all of you as a part of a syllabus. Then it says culture. Now culture is again a very holistic term. Holistic term, why? Because say, culture is basically all about our way of life. Culture जो है, एक बहुत ही बड़ा शानदार शब्द है जिसमें आप सब कुछ इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं. ये ब्यूटी ऑफ कल्चर एज अ वर्ड कल्चर इज देयर इन फैक्ट. तो क्योंकि देखिए कल्चर में क्या होता है कि जितने भी हमारे जीवन के जीवन शैली में जितने भी आयाम होते हैं, जितने भी हम उसमें जितने भी काम करते हैं, जितने भी गतिविधियों में इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, वो सब कल्चर का पार्ट है. ठीक है, चाहे हम जिस प्रकार से बोलते हैं, जिस प्रकार से रहते हैं, जिस प्रकार से खाते हैं, जिस प्रकार से अपने आप को ड्रेसअप करते हैं, जिस प्रकार से आपसे बातचीत करते हैं, वो सब कल्चर का ही पार्ट है इनफैक्ट. तो इसलिए मैंने कहा कल्चर इज ऑल अबाउट आवर वे ऑफ लाइफ. सो दैट्स एग्जैक्टली द मीनिंग ऑफ कल्चर. So how we conduct ourselves in our society as an individual, as a part of a social group also, these all actually are the part of culture only. So in that way, culture is a holistic term altogether. So that is what we have to also prepare about culture of Rajasthan. In fact, so इसमें क्या क्या आएगा? इसमें फूड पैटर्न से लेके वहाँ पे ड्रेसिंग सेंस, वहाँ के हैंडीक्राफ्ट, ये सब कुछ कल्चर के पार्ट में ही आ जाएगा. That is the beauty of this word called culture. Then you have a literature. So literature is obviously the writing part. So written script, written material of Rajasthan history is going to be another essential part to prepare as far as literature of Rajasthan is also concerned. That is all about literature. It also talks about tradition. Now, tradition is another very important word. Now, tradition, why? Because see, tradition and heritage. Tradition and heritage, that is something which actually has been there as a part of the following right from the ancient time in Rajasthan. So this जिसको हम हिंदी में एक परंपरा के रूप में भी समझते हैं. तो जो परंपरा राजस्थान में रही है, जिस प्रकार की गतिविधियां राजस्थान में रही हैं, जिस प्रकार की प्रैक्टिसेस, सामाजिक जो प्रैक्टिसेस राजस्थान में रही हैं, वो सब ट्रेडिशंस के पार्ट हैं. ठीक है, तो ट्रेडिशंस में मान लीजिए राजस्थान में लोग वहाँ पे ज़्यादा फोर्ट्स बनाते थे, तो ट्रेडिशन का ही पार्ट होगा फोर्ट कल्चर, फोर्ट मेकिंग कल्चर ऑल्सो. एक राजस्थान में मान लीजिए कि लोग ज़्यादातर जो है वो खान पीन पे, उनका खाना पीना पे काफ़ी एम्फेसिस होता था, बहुत सारे विभिन्न विभिन्न प्रकार के खाने बनाते थे, वो भी ट्रेडिशन का पार्ट हो जाएगा. तो जो ट्रेडिशन का पार्ट है, मतलब कहना जो परंपरा है राजस्थान के इतिहास में, उस सबको ट्रेडिशन में ही हम इंक्लूड करते हैं. दैट्स अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ ट्रेडिशन. Similarly, if you talk about heritage, now heritage is a very significant term, and this is how the word heritage has gained importance these days across the globe and also in India, and especially also in Rajasthan. So why heritage? Now, heritage is something that actually has been bestowed upon us by our ancestors. Heritage का मतलब क्या होता है? All those items, all those ideas, whether tangible or intangible, which have been inherited by all of us from our ancestors, that is actually going to be a part of the heritage. The word heritage has been derived from the word called inheritance, in fact. So inheritance से एक word derive होती है, इसका नाम है heritage, in fact. तो जो भी हमारे पास सांस्कृतिक धरोहर, जो भी हमारे पास सांस्कृतिक या प्राकृतिक धरोहर हमें अपने पूर्वजों से मिले हैं, उन्हें समझने की बात है हेरिटेज ऑफ राजस्थान, हेरिटेज ऑफ इंडिया के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. सो इन दिस वे वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाटएवर हैज बीन गिवन टू अस by our ancestors, they all happen to be a part of heritage. Even a language can also be heritage. Even certain ideas, certain folklores, folk stories, folk songs, that can also be heritage. And the most important example as far as Rajasthan is concerned, the biggest example of Rajasthan in terms of heritage is absolutely the art of puppetry. So puppetry is another very important art which is quite famous across the globe, not only in India, but across the globe. It is a big heritage given by people of Rajasthan only to the current generation of Rajasthan, in fact. So the point that we have to understand exactly what is the meaning of this syllabus. That is what we have to understand first of all as a first and the foremost task when we start preparing for RAS Mains Examination, in fact. Let us now see further in detail what all things are mentioned also in the sub part of the syllabus. See, in the sub part of syllabus, it is clearly mentioned about, it talks about that we have to prepare about the major landmarks in the history of Rajasthan from prehistoric era till 18th century, to the close of 18th century basically. So from the prehistoric era to close of 18th century, we have to understand the entire history of Rajasthan primarily. Important dynasties, and their administrative and revenue system. Now, this is one of the most important dimensions of the history of Rajasthan, the administrative and revenue system, in fact. This is what we have to also understand, in fact. Then we have second part, salient events of the 19th and 20th century, that is peasant and tribal movements, political awakening, freedom movement, and even integration. Now, this is another very interesting topic for all of you, which you normally prepare also for the normal history of India. And here you have to be emphasizing upon the peasant tribal movements of Rajasthan primarily. Then the third part is heritage of Rajasthan. See, performing and fine art. Now, exactly I told you the same thing. Puppetry is one of those, performing art only. So, I've given you one example to make you understand. All right, there are many in fact. This is a part of your heritage of Rajasthan which you have to prepare. Then handicraft, architecture, major sites of world heritage and tourism in Rajasthan, fairs, festivals, folk music, folk dance, these all are obviously the heritage of Rajasthan. Alright, so if you recognize the dance like Kalbelia, that is actually a heritage of Rajasthan, in fact. Alright, and not say that is heritage of India in that way also. Fine. That is a beauty of the syllabus, that to understand what is the meaning of heritage. Then it also talks about important works of Rajasthan literature and the dialects of Rajasthan. So it also talks about the language, the literature or the dialects as local language of Rajasthan. Then it talks about saints, lok devtas, eminent personalities of Rajasthan as well. That's another very interesting topic of the history of Rajasthan for all of us. Fine. Now see, this is the part B of your syllabus. Now, in part B of your syllabus, what all things are we supposed to prepare? It is the Indian history and culture of Rajasthan, sorry, of India in fact. So, part A राजस्थान के इतिहास पे था, part B जो है वो इंडिया के इतिहास पे है. So, this is a syllabus of your Indian history primarily. Indian history and culture. So, ये आपको prepare करना है. अब history में exactly क्या-क्या prepare करना है वो भी clearly आप देख लीजिए. यहाँ जो Indian heritage, that which includes fine arts, performing art, architecture, literature, from Indus civilization to British era. Fine. So, in that way, you have to prepare entire thing right from the Indus civilization to the British era. For example, suppose if you prepare about the painting itself. So, you need to prepare painting right from the Indus period to the period of, let's say, the ancient, and from ancient to the examples like Ajanta Ellora to the period of even the medieval period, especially the Mughals, and then further from the Mughals, you have to also prepare about the entire, let's say, the modern period of painting as well in our country. So, that is how you have to prepare the entire painting in a holistic manner. That is exactly the purpose of giving you this particular part of this sort of syllabus in the RAS Mains Examination. Fine. This also writes about religious movements. So, now you see religious movements and religious philosophy in ancient and medieval India. तो अब ये क्या कह रहे हैं, ये रिलीजियस मूवमेंट के बारे में भी कह रहे हैं और रिलीजियस फिलॉसफी के बारे में भी कह रहे हैं. मतलब रिलीजियस मूवमेंट, रिलीजियस फिलॉसफी दोनों को आपको समझना है एंशिएंट इंडिया में. तो यहाँ पे आपको बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म के अलावा कुछ और भी फिलॉसफीज थे जिसको भक्ति मूवमेंट के संदर्भ में समझना होता है, वो भी आपको यहाँ समझना होगा. तो ये भी, दिस इज अनदर इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्ट ऑफ दैट, पार्ट ऑफ दैट. Then history of modern India, you have to understand that too the syllabus is very precisely mentioning about from the beginning of the 19th century, which means that somewhere around, let's say, 1800, 1020 onwards in fact. So, from the beginning of 19th century means 1801 onwards, you have to understand till 1965. 1965. The 1965, that is till the Indo-Pak War. Now, see, this is the syllabus till the second Indo-Pak War. It was fought in 1965 only. So, till 1965, the Indo-Pakistan War, which was just before the Tashkent Agreement. Alright, so till the era of, I would say, Lal Bahadur Shastri also. Till the era of Lal Bahadur Shastri, you have to understand the history of India in that way. So, any question can be asked to you right from this part to the era of Lal Bahadur Shastri. And here you can understand significant events, personalities and issues you have to also prepare in this part of syllabus. Then in Indian national movement, you have to prepare about the various stages, streams, important contributors, and contribution from different parts of the country. It simply means when it talks about various stages, it talks about various streams, it talks about important contributors, it talks about the contribution from different parts of the country. So you can understand the Indian national movement should not only be conceived from the perspective of what only the Indian National Congress actually was able to achieve. Rather, when you study the Indian national movement, obviously you have to study in various stages, especially stages like the moderate stage, then the extremist stage, then the Gandhian stage. That this is how you have to understand the various stages of Indian national movement. In fact, when you talk about the streams, you have to also understand streams in the form of not only the movement launched by the Indian national movement or the INC. In fact, so what INC had already launched, this is not the only thing you have to study. Rather, you have to also study about, apart from INC, many parallel movements also going on, parallel streams of movement also going on. For example, let's say the movement of the socialist parties, the movement launched by the socialist parties, fine, the movement launched by the communist parties, fine. So there are many streams that also actually had started in national movement. So the movement started were not only from the National Congress platform, but even the platform of other socialist party within the Congress or even outside the Congress. These all actually started leading their streams. And most important stream is obviously you can understand the stream of nationalist revolutionaries, in fact. So nationalist revolutionaries, especially led by the nationalists like Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, etc. So even that could be also a part of your stream of preparation of your entire international movement, in fact. Similarly, you have to also highlight the contributions of different people in the international movement. So why we will understand or study only one aspect of international movement, why not others also? The contributions of various other leaders. All right, their contributions are equally important in the international movement. For example, let's say the question can be straight away asked to you, discuss the achievement of Tej Bahadur Sapru in international movement. That can certainly be a question for all of you. So here again, you will be having bottleneck in terms of having the source or the material on only Tej Bahadur Sapru's contribution in India's national movement. But they can straight away be asked to you as a question for sure. So this is how you have to understand the approach of the questions or the syllabus, what actually the meaning of syllabus is all about. Then it also talks about contribution. Contribution of what? Contribution from different parts of the country, which means why not to include the contributions of the freedom fighters coming from northeastern states of India. So northeastern states contributors in freedom struggle should be also included. Why not to include the freedom fighters coming from the area of, let's say, Tamil Nadu, area of Kerala, area of Andhra Pradesh. So their contributions also have to be included. Not only that, but why not to include the contributions of the people who are actually living outside India. So people of foreign origin, Indian people of, let's say the outside India. Now their contributions can also be asked to you as a question outrightly. So in that way, the role of the people of Indian origin outside India, their role can be straight away be asked to you as a question also in the contributors or contribution from different parts of India and the contribution different part of India. In fact, ये सारा कुछ जो है आप समझ सकते हैं कि जो वर्ड्स दिए हुए अपने आप में पर्याप्त है ये बताने के लिए कि सवाल किसी प्रकार से भी आपसे पूछे जा सकते हैं कि ये सिलेबस अपने आप में काफ़ी हॉलिस्टिक है, काफ़ी कॉम्प्रहेंसिव है. इट इंक्लूड्स ऑलमोस्ट एवरी डायमेंशन of your history syllabus of modern India in that way. Fine. Then it talks about separately socio-religious reform movements in the 19th and 20th century. It's very important in that way. ये भी important dimension है. ठीक है. Then post-independence consolidation and reorganization, and then the accession of present states and linguistic organization of the states in India. तो ये अपने आप में एक अलग ही महत्वपूर्ण डायमेंशन है जो आप जनरली पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस मतलब 1947 के बाद what all challenges India had to face. The very first challenge was to reorganize and to consolidate the territories of India with the larger Indian Union, in fact. So in that way, this question, this part of syllabus is equally also important. Fine. That is a part B of your syllabus. Then see, part C. The part C of your syllabus, it actually revolves around the history of world, in fact. And what world? It is modern world history. So history of modern world, that actually is the part C for all of you. So that is also very interesting to know that even the world history has also been included as a part of your history syllabus in the mains examination. And here they have come up with the very specific terms that will prepare the history of world from Renaissance to Reformation, then American War of Independence, then French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, then imperialism, colonialism in Asia and Africa, and then the impact of world wars. Now see, if you can locate the syllabus in the time frame, you will come down to this conclusion. The syllabus covers right from the 15th century, the period of 15th century onwards, because these two phenomena, especially Renaissance, took place in 15th century. So 15th century, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, and even the 19th century. Now the development of world history in these all 5 centuries are going to be a very important one. And then it also mentions about the world wars. Now the World War First and World War Two, 1 and 2, both took place in the early 20th century, in fact. Alright, so now you can understand, in the early 20th century, the World War already had occurred. So that way, even 20th century will also be part of the syllabus. तो आप देखिए, सिलेबस में तो इतना ही मेंशन है वर्ड्स, लेकिन सिलेबस कवर क्या क्या कर रहा है, ये 15वीं शताब्दी को भी कवर कर रहा है, ये 16वीं शताब्दी को भी कवर कर रहा है, ये 17वीं शताब्दी को भी कवर कर रहा है, ये 18वीं शताब्दी को भी कवर कर रहा है, और 19वीं और 20वीं शताब्दी को भी कवर कर रहा है. क्योंकि व्हेन यू सी द अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ सिलेबस, फॉर एग्जांपल अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, so the American War of Independence was fought in the 18th century, so obviously it is going to cover 18th century outrightly. When you take the example of Reformation, it took place in both the 16th and the 17th century. Fine. So in that way, it covers both the ideas. You take the French Revolution as an example, it also covered in the 18th century. Fine. Then when Industrial Revolution, when you cover, it also is coming under the 18th and then the 19th century, in fact. That is how Industrial Revolution took place. Then if you talk about imperialism and colonialism, Asia and Africa, it took place in the 19th century precisely. So 19th century, you see the imperialism and colonialism was at peak in Asia and Africa. And then the impact of the world wars, it took place in the 20th century. तो ऐसा कोई सेंचुरी नहीं है जहाँ पे सिलेबस आपका कवर नहीं कर रहा है. तो इसका मतलब है कि सिलेबस में आपको ये पूरा का पूरा सेगमेंट ही तैयार करना है, लेकिन तैयार करने के दौरान जो हमें और आपको फोकस करना है, वो फोकस करना है इन सारे टर्म्स पे, इन सारे फेनोमेना पे, इन सारे इंसिडेंट्स पे. ये सारे इंसिडेंसेस हमारे सिलेबस का इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है और यहाँ से ही क्वेश्चंस बनने की संभावना सबसे ज़्यादा होती है. ठीक है, इसी कारण से ये सारे टर्म्स आप प्रिपेयर करते हैं, लेकिन ऑब्वियसली व्हेन यू प्रिपेयर, यू आल्सो प्रिपेयर इन द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ ऑल दिस पर्टिकुलर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर पीरियड्स, इन फैक्ट. ठीक है, दैट इज द पॉइंट फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. नाउ सी, दिस इज हाउ वी अंडरस्टैंड normally the syllabus of your history part for the mains. Now that was the first task that I told you just now when I started this particular video. There are two aspects of this video. One is that we will be analyzing briefly here the syllabus of the mains of history, particularly for RAS, and then also to analyze briefly the kind of questions which are being asked in the RAS examination in the last few years, and how to gather the wherewithal or the resources to tackle those questions. ये important बात है आपके लिए. ठीक है, ये सेकेंड पार्ट जो है इस वीडियो का इसी मुद्दे पे है कि किस प्रकार से उन क्वेश्चंस को हम टैकल करें और किस प्रकार के उसके उत्तर ढूंढने या उत्तर लिख पाएं. तो उसको समझने का अब समय आ गया है. तो सिलेबस क्या है वो आप समझ चुके हैं. सिलेबस क्या है? सिलेबस मेंस का 3 पार्ट में विभाजित है. एक में पहला पार्ट में राजस्थान का पूरा इतिहास है, दूसरे पार्ट में उसमें भारत का इतिहास है, और साथ साथ उसमें संस्कृति और कल्चर वाली जो बात है वो भी उसके साथ पार्ट है. इसके अलावा इवन मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री भी इसका पार्ट है। मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री भी इसके साथ साथ हमें टेकअप करना है, ठीक है। तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ही हम देखते हैं सिलेबस के इस तीनों भागों को। अब बढ़ते हैं आगे दूसरे पार्ट में। दूसरा पार्ट ये है कि इन सिलेबस को किस प्रकार से समझें और किस प्रकार के सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, जिसकी तैयारी हमें करनी है। That is what is another very important dimension of this video. Let us see now that dimension. See, the questions I'm discussing in front of you is coming from the year of 2021 in fact. So it is RAS Mains 2021 Mains Examination from where the questions were asked to you. Questions किस प्रकार से पूछा गया था देखिए आप अपने स्क्रीन पे। क्वेश्चन पूछा गया कि नेम इस एंड नॉट एंड इट्स एनी होगा। नेम एनी 4 out of 6 orthodox schools of Indian Vedic philosophy. Now see, this is interesting. What kind of question is this? See, primarily, first and foremost, this question is a short type question. Short type question. That's not a long type question. ठीक है? Short type question है। इस प्रकार के क्वेश्चंस आपको NCERT वेट टेस्ट में भी मिल जाएंगे लिखे हुए पीछे के एक्सरसाइजेज में। ऐसे क्वेश्चन NCERT में भी होते हैं। है बेसिक क्वेश्चन ही, लेकिन क्वेश्चन पूछ क्या रहा है? पूछ यही रहा है कि 6 जो फिलोसफीज थी, 6 ऑर्थोडॉक्स स्कूल्स ऑफ इंडियन वैदिक फिलोसफीज थी, उसमें से कोई 4 के नाम आपको बताने हैं। ऑलराइट, अब ये जो 6 जो फिलोसफीज थी, उसमें से आपको 4 के नाम बताने हैं, जिसमें आप याद रखेंगे कि व्हेन यू स्टडी द फिलोसफीज, स्पेशली लेट्स से न्याय फिलोसफी, योगा फिलोसफी, वैशेषिक फिलोसफी, मीमांसा फिलोसफी, वेदांतिक फिलोसफी, these all are the philosophies in fact which you study normally in your ancient part itself. All right, but at the same time you can see here, out of those philosophies you have the philosophies also of the question which actually has been asked was also from the same topic, but it is here demanding only 4 out of those 6 in fact. तो आपको सिर्फ 4 के नाम बताने हैं और उसके प्रोपॉन्डर के नाम बताने हैं। यही पहला क्वेश्चन पूछा हुआ है, ठीक है। तो ये कहाँ से आ गया? ये आ गया स्कूल ऑफ फिलोसफी से, जो आपके सिलेबस का पार्ट है, मैंने दिखाया था थोड़ी देर पहले आपको। सेकेंड, देन दे आस्क्ड यू रावण हथा। नाउ रावण हथा वाज आस्क्ड यू स्पेशली इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ द हिस्ट्री ऑफ और द कल्चर ऑफ राजस्थान बेसिकली। सो इन दैट वे रावण हथा वाज आस्क्ड यू। देन दे आस्क्ड यू सुहरावर्दी सूफी सिलसिला। इट वाज आस्क्ड अगेन फ्रॉम फिलोसफी ऑफ Indian history. Then the question was asked, highlight the role of Aruna Asaf Ali in the Quit India movement. I gave the example of similar kind of example in the context of Tej Bahadur Sapru. They asked you Aruna Asaf Ali's contribution. Then see, where did Leonardo da Vinci paint his famous painting, The Last Supper? So this is something that has been asked to you from the topic of Renaissance. So Renaissance से उन्होंने पूछ दिया आपसे, factual है, but still that has been asked to you that where did he paint his famous painting, The Last Supper? All right, that is one thing. Secondly, they asked you examine the salient features of Rajasingh style of temple architecture. Now this is the temple architecture that actually had developed in Rajasthan. You have to highlight the Rajasingh style of temple architecture of Rajasthan primarily, in fact. Then throw light on the activities of Kanwar Singh in Bihar, or Kunwar Singh in Bihar, during the revolt of 1857. So again, it has been asked in the context of the contribution of some great leaders of India's freedom struggle only. So in that way, this question was asked to you. Then you see the next question, that write a short note on the integration of Sirohi in United Rajasthan. So see here, you have been asked a question again from the same topic, which is there as a part of a syllabus, very clearly mentioned. And here you have to highlight the integration of Sirohi in United Rajasthan primarily, in fact. Fine. Then critically examine the Begum or Begun peasant movement of Rajasthan. This Begun peasant movement was there. So in that context, I have asked you on the peasant movement of Rajasthan a right question straight away. Okay. Then next question, discuss the ideological background of American War of Independence. Now they asked you about the role of philosophers in the American War of Independence. That exactly was the name of the question that was asked to you. ये वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री से डायरेक्टली आपसे पूछ दिया गया। Examine the significance of Charan literature in classical literature of Rajasthan. So, this is another type of literature that's also developed in Rajasthan. It's called Charan literature. So, their significance also you have to highlight primarily in the answer. Discuss in brief the growth of the ideology of theosophist and theosophical society in India, in fact. That is also from modern India. Discuss the development of indigenous industries in India during the Second World War. That is another question from the Second World War, but it is pertaining to also the indigenous industries primarily, in fact. That is impact of Second World War. In that way, this question was asked to you. Industrial revolution was not only a technological revolution, but a socio-economic revolution, but also that changed the way people lived afterwards. Discuss. So, impact of industrial revolution has been asked to you straight away in this question. Here, the impact of the Second World War was asked to you, and the impact of the industrial revolution has been asked to you, in fact. That is how the questions were framed for you, but these were the long time questions, not the short type questions. Then in 2018, you can see the question was asked to you, which three sacred texts of ancient India are termed Prasthan Trayi? So, Prasthan Trayi was known to the Vedic literature. So, in that way, they have asked you exactly which all three Vedic literature was known as Trayi. Briefly describe the Arjuna penance sculpture. That's very famous sculptures, especially in Mamallapuram, that has been asked to you. Then describe the text Vishwa Ballav Granth, Chakradhar Mishra's writing. It's very famous in Rajasthan. This question was asked to you. Then who were the Dungaji and Jawaharji? So Dungaji and Jawaharji were the local deities. They were also asked you about local deities of Rajasthan. Then define the European Enlightenment of the 18th century. So in that way, Enlightenment has also been asked you. But exactly you can see this word was missing out there in your syllabus. That's the reason why I told you कि आपको पूरा 16वीं 17वीं 18वीं 19वीं शताब्दी पूरी तरह से तैयार करनी होगी. क्वेश्चन कहीं से कुछ पूछ देंगे. एनलाइटनमेंट कहीं लिखा नहीं हुआ था आपके सिलेबस में, बट फिर भी आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा गया एनलाइटनमेंट में. क्यों? क्योंकि 18वीं शताब्दी में ये भी हुआ था. पूछ दिया उन्होंने क्वेश्चन आपसे स्ट्रेट अवे. देखिए, राइट अ शॉर्ट नोट ऑन द ब्रॉन्ज इमेजेस फाउंड फ्रॉम हरप्पन साइट्स. तो उन्होंने एक क्वेश्चन पूछ दिया. देन भारतेंदु हरिश्चंद्र's रोल एज अ प्रिकर्सर ऑफ मॉडर्न ट्रेंड्स इन हिंदी लिटरेचर. They asked you about contribution of Bhartendu Harishchandra. Describe the method used by the Molela artist in preparing the terracotta objects. They asked you about the local handicraft objects, handicraft art in there in Rajasthan, in fact. Then discuss the cause of present unrest in the Jagardari areas of Rajasthan. That is another question asked to you from Jagardari or present unrest there in Rajasthan. Then what were the suggestions given by the state reorganization commission to strengthen the national unity, in fact? So in that way, this question was asked to you from the post-independence era in Rajasthan. The Indian Renaissance of 9th century was a result of the challenges as well as inspiration of the West examined critically. That has been asked to you, especially in the context of socio-religious reform movement. All right. Give an outline of the development of revolutionary freedom movement in 20th century. So revolutionary freedom movement is what I just बताया था आपको मैंने. Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad. In the same context has been asked to you. All right. Give a brief description of the following archaeological sites like Bagor, Kalibangan, Ahar. They all belong to Rajasthan, so you have to only explain their importance. They all were Chalcolithic sites, and then how they have given the significance in the context of emergence of new material culture in India. This is how you have to explain this idea. Discuss the impact of the World War II on international politics. So how it impacted international politics also you have to write in a similar fashion. So see, the idea is this is how you will find that every year the questions which have been asked you, I have given you only 2 years question. I have many years question with me, but these 2 years questions are sufficient for you to actually understand the reality of how to approach the RAS mains examination. Now, since you have seen the paper and what I have just spoken to you, that what exactly are mentioned there in the syllabus are merely indicative, which means that you have to go beyond that also, understanding that a particular incident which has been given, which has been mentioned by the RAS or by the RPSC in their syllabus, they are only indicative. It simply also means that any topic near to that particular incident, any issue directly or indirectly associated with that particular incident can also be straight away asked to you as a question there in the mains examination. And I have shown you one small example. The example was in the context of the Enlightenment movement of Europe, which began in the 18th century. Now, obviously, the idea is that it is not mentioned there in the syllabus outrightly that you have to prepare Enlightenment movement. But nevertheless, they have already indicated that of the story of 18th century you are supposed to prepare. And when you prepare, let's say, I tell you one example, when you prepare, let's say, the background of the French Revolution, obviously, you have to also prepare the intellectual, the role of intellectual, role of philosophers, role of enlightened philosophers in causing the French Revolution as well. So, therefore, you can now understand clearly that these all dimensions have to be prepared on the basis of the syllabus and then on the basis of the kind of questions which have been asked by RPSC in the RAS mains examination. So, in nutshell, what would be our approach to study them? That's exactly the last conclusive point which we have to conclude here. So, the last conclusive point would be to approach all these segments which are clearly mentioned in the syllabus and segments which are implicit in the syllabus. To approach these entire segments, we need to carry one particular resource. A resource would be obviously to first of all prepare the syllabus verbatim, word by word, from any particular authentic source, authentic book that may be available in the market. So, any particular book which covers or caters the entire information about all these particular 3 segments of syllabus of history, that is required to be there with all of you right now. And at the same time, if you don't have that, then you have to rely and you must rely on the Drishti IAS printed material that is also for RAS examination. So, Drishti IAS printed material for RAS examination is one of the good material available in the market, especially when it comes to all the materials are comprised in a one particular set of book. They all have been consistent. They all have been put into one particular book, and most interestingly, these all contents have been mentioned in a very legible, in a very comprehensible manner by the team of Drishti, in fact. So, in that way, the Drishti printed material can be a great help for all of you in terms of searching the material for in the entire syllabus of history here and there. So, that is one exercise that you can always be quite helpful, and the second is obviously the classes as well. So, in both of these, if you club together, your preparation can be done in a very holistic, in a sound manner, in a comprehensive manner, and that is exactly what is required when you have already seen the entire context of the syllabus analysis and the context of the question analysis of only last couple of years itself. So, with this, I can conclude this session by suggesting to all of you that should not waste your time in searching here and there the materials. Simply refer the Drishti IAS notes. That would be more than sufficient apart from the classes of Drishti itself. Fine. So, with this, I am now concluding the session of this RAS mains discussion in this particular short video, and I hope and believe I will see you soon in the proper classes also of Drishti RAS mains examination. Fine. Thank you then. Bye bye and take care. Thank you.